It was all about Vinicius Junior off the pitch and what's been going on over the last few days. Remember, when we went live on Sunday as this was all breaking, we were shocked. Shaka described it as tone deaf. The Tebas reaction, who is, of course, LaLiga President, almost getting into a fight with Vinicius Junior. Before you criticise and insult LaLiga, you need to inform yourself well, Vinny Junior. Don't let yourself be manipulated. Of course, so much backlash at that Twitter exchange. On Wednesday, he went one step to try and put things right. He said, I think the message and the intention I had was not understood by a significant number of people, especially in Brazil. I did not want to attack Vinicius, but if most people understood it that way, I need to apologise. It was not my intention. I expressed myself badly at a bad time. He then continued, this is with Globo, the Brazilian broadcaster. Are there racist insults directed at Vinicius? No doubt. The president of La Liga is aware. We found them many years ago, and I will do the same now, in defence of Vinicius and the players in Spain or anyone else who faces racism. It has always been my conduct and always will be. I'm not going to change. I apologise if you misinterpreted the tweet. It wasn't my intention. Alex is with us. Alex, what is interesting about this is that this is Tebas, who we know is bullish and we know is very strong in his opinions, but we don't see very often Tebas coming out and apologising, even in this horrible manner. He's had to backtrack, hasn't he, for the reputation of not only himself, but La Liga.
Yeah, I think there's been a recognition that the tone of those tweets was wrong, that the focus and the emphasis of those tweets were wrong, because it was almost making out Vinicius to be, I don't know, somehow part of the problem here and not the victim, which is exactly what he is. So I think there's been a recognition there, whether it's Tebas himself, whether it's the people around Tebas who've had a word with him and said, look, you need to apologise for this. You know, this looked really, really poor, and it added to what was already a disastrous image for La Liga of racism, these racist incidents happening time and time again, and it not being dealt with. It made a bad situation, an awful situation, even worse, I think. And so there's been a recognition of that, like I say, Tebas was wrong in terms of his tone, was wrong in terms of his focus. And this really, I think, has been about kind of cleaning up the mess that he made, these interviews that he's given today, including to our colleagues at ESPN Brazil. So it's welcome. We're going to hear more from Tebas as well over the course of the week. He's holding a press conference tomorrow here in Madrid that he'll be, I think, saying more of the same and really trying to change the focus away from some things that he said on Twitter that he probably shouldn't have said, or at least how he said them. And instead, in terms of the more positive side of what has happened in the last couple of days, which is the arrests that have been made, the punishment that's been handed out to Valencia as well, because those are the really concrete steps that have been taken over the last couple of days that I think are what Vinicius Junior wanted to see. You know, what we saw today at the Bernabeu was great and important in terms of showing support for Vinicius Junior. But I think what's really important, like I say, is those arrests and that quite severe punishment that we've seen for Valencia, which is what Vinicius has been asking for.
Thank goodness I'm off tomorrow. Because you know Tebas is going to say something ridiculous in this press conference.
You mean more ridiculous than Sunday, and then even more ridiculous than that half-baked apology? Listen, the more I see this Tebas apology, the worse it gets. First of all, and just to be a little bit flippant about it, as Sid was saying yesterday, it's never good when the La Liga president is referring to himself as the La Liga president. You don't speak about yourself in the third party. That's just for starters. Second of all, it's never good when your apology is, I'm sorry people misinterpreted me. People misinterpreted you because you said nonsense. And to that point, I don't think anybody misinterpreted you at all. Everybody heard exactly what you were trying to say all along. And then this, people misinterpreted me, especially people in Brazil. No, everybody with two brain cells that rub together heard what you were trying to say and lash out against you. It's not about a misinterpretation. It's not about a misinterpretation by a certain sector of people. It's about you making a really poor statement at the worst possible time and finding and getting the retribution for it. Apologize for that. Just say, I was wrong. I got this totally wrong. Don't try to put this on anybody else. All that being said, and as critical as I am of Tebas and that apology, it is so much better than everything we've seen from Spanish football.
Yeah.
So
the bar was low.
The bar was very low. So while it was awful, it is so much better than everything that preceded it. So at least there's some movement in the right direction.
Go on, Steve, you want to say?
I'm just trying to figure out how does somebody like Tebas, being the president of LaLiga, how does he get away with just spouting all this nonsense time after time?
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem as though there's any repercussions against him and the position that he's in. How does he get away with this all the time?
Well, I think he's definitely running out of time, for sure, given what we've seen. I want to welcome Kieran Gibbs into the conversation. Kieran, given what we've seen not this weekend, but of course over the last few seasons in Spain, if you were still playing, would that sort of behaviour from the fans be off-putting in your decision to move to Spain?
Good question. I think, obviously all of the players are going to be aware, right? Everyone probably in the world has seen that in the world football. I think if I was a player that was linked to a club in Spain, I don't think it would have influenced my decision to go to the league. I think it would affect my decision to go to the club, though. I don't think that putting myself in that position would. I think that would be a step too far for me. But everyone's different, and you have players linked like Mbappe, Bellingham, and these guys are so loved all over the world, and they have the ability to change the opinions of the ignorant because they're that special. So I think everyone's different. I think I wouldn't be if I was linked to go to Valencia. I think that would be a tough decision.
I think it would. I think if it were a choice between going to a Spanish club, and let's not even say all things equal, between going to a Spanish club and going to an English club, let's say the money, I'm going to make a little bit more money in Spain, but not significantly so. And we're talking about clubs outside of Real Madrid and Barcelona that have their own appeal regardless. But Valencia, we're talking about Valencia here. Let's say I am linked with Valencia and there's a choice between Valencia and I'll use West Ham. Mm-hmm. And I'm only going to make 10, maybe 15% less at West Ham. I go to West Ham. I as a black player, I go to West Ham. And while we're discussing this, and we're discussing Vinicius Junior and his standing in Spanish football and in world football, and we're talking Brazil. Brazil are the largest exporters of footballers in the world. So now if, as you go to Brazil searching out talent, if there's any kind of parity between Spanish clubs and clubs from some other country interested in one of those talents, I think that there's a real decision to be made. It's not that straightforward.
It's not just a player's point of view, the family.
Yeah.
Are you going to take your wife and kids to a game and sit and listen to that? So that has to come into it as well, big time.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.